As I'm going through these models, I forgot to tell you that what I'm presenting here is obviously the average or the most practiced Wiccan or witchcraft practices. So let me explain. So of course we talk about the witch being an individual, and so what I'm expressing here is the opinion of most Wiccans or pagans that are practicing this type of faith or religion. They are not only my personal views. Now, the majority of witches tend to be progressives. We said that because in this goes into being social and political, but there are also certain exceptions. So almost the only broad issues where the craft is unanimous are that the environment is sacred and must be respected and protected. We don't exactly know, or it's not always so clear on how, but and then also the second part is that freedom of religion must be defended. So let's look at a few other hot button issues and see where most witches stand. War and peace. So many Wiccans serve honorably in the military, but they are no flag-waving warmongers. They are keeping with the live and let live attitude. And most would rather leave other nations alone unless our homes are directly threatened. Abortion. Discussing abortion seems to be a no-win proposition, which is perhaps why there is very little real discussion of the issue and a great deal of rigidity and anger surrounding it. As with most issues, witches have no official position or dogma as a religion. Doubtless there are sincere witches on both sides of the issue. The majority, if numbers mean anything, will probably say that abortion should be a woman's personal choice, with input from her family and physician. In my opinion, and only in my opinion, I follow the Rede. The Rede says, harm none, and this might be a case where choosing the lesser harm must be left to the individual, witch's higher self. Drugs and alcohol. Most witches would rather keep their faculties unclouded by drugs and develop their psychic and spiritual abilities without that complication. However, there might be certain witches who like recreational cannabis, and a few others who will carefully experiment with what they call entheogens, or plant substances that are said to trigger religious experiences, such as peyote and certain mushrooms. We will caution anyone exploring this path. First, be aware that such use can be dangerous, especially if it's not guided by someone experienced in such practices. Second, remember, some of these practices or all practices are illegal, and are you willing to pay the penalty for violating the law? Remember too that a witch arrested on a drug charges harms the entire craft community by association, as it is likely that normally this witch tends to be intensified. It is unlikely that a headline will read Lutheran arrested for drugs, but you can bet you will see the headline Witch arrested for drugs. Alcohol and alcoholic beverages are legal for adults to consume, and their effects are better understood. However, we know witches who will never touch alcohol, like myself. Witches who will never only take a sip of wine in the circle. There are witches who drink lightly and socially, and some who really savor a good bottle of meat. A witch who truly lives by the Rede might not drink to the point where her health is damaged, nor may she drive a vehicle if alcohol impaired. Under the Rede, a witch who drank so much and Kant lost the control of her thoughts, his tongue or her reflexes will be creating the potential for harm. Civil rights and race relationships. Which is by their very nature support civil rights, because if civil liberties and personal freedoms are threatened, we are among the very first targets. Regarding race, skin color is irrelevant to us, the majority of which is a Caucasian, because Wicca originated in Europe, and many are drawn because of their ancestral connections. Sometimes it's simpler for whites to connect with their European roots, blacks to connect with their African roots, etc. However, the craft is open to anyone who is called to it, and we're fortunate that some people of color have found their spiritual home in the craft community. Many folks of Hispanic heritage are discovering the craft as well, which seems to be quite natural, such as myself. I'm from Spain. Since Spain and Central South America were very pagan places before the Catholic Church became dominant there. To repeat, we judge a person by their character and accomplishments, not by their race or cultural heritage. We could explore many more issues, but in most of them the conclusion will be the same. Witches are free to choose the position they hold under the guidance of the Rede. However, we do follow, harm no one, and follow your true will. I want to do a separate module to start talking about the ritual words of power and spells, and some of the history. We're spiraling already into the center of being a Wiccan, which is your daily practice. It doesn't matter if you do this in a convent or you do it by yourself. I'll see you in the next module.